Now tonight, I hope you'll start practicing. Won't take you any time at all to try it. It costs you nothing, and it works wonders. You can sit here tonight or you go home. Put yourself in a state of affluence. What's wrong with that? I know, well, back in the 1920s, 1930s, we had a deep depression beginning in 29. And do you know that you could go to Tiffany and buy, say, 8 glasses, beautiful glasses for a wedding present? Cost you what? Not more than 75 cents. A beautiful glass. And in a Tiffany box. The whole thing was a Tiffany box. Beautifully done. You'd go to Macy's or Gimbel's and you'd buy something not comparable for $1, $1.25. But the majority would not be seen dead in Tiffany. That was style. That was something beyond them. They wouldn't even walk in. They felt embarrassed to walk in. Yet you could go into Tiffany, the jewels on the first floor, take the elevator to the third, where they had the lovely china and lovely glassware on another floor, and get a beautiful gift wrapped package from Tiffany. You didn't have to send 2 dozen. 8, that's enough. 8 beautiful glasses. And people would not go in. They were embarrassed to be seen in Tiffany. I'm quite sure the same thing is true here with their branch hair. And you could go to Tiffany and buy a lovely thing for very little, really. But people are trained, that means something that's classy and that and the other. And if you're in one state, you can't argue them out of it. They've got to get out of that state to be able to go into a state. And if you tell them, you know, at one time in your life, a $12 suit was all that you could afford and all you thought you could ever afford. You get out of that state and think something differently. And then you pay $250 for a suit easier than you could get at the $12 for the other suit. I know it happened in my own case. When I began to buy a suit for $250, it was easier for me to pay $250 than when I had to get at $12 for a suit. That if it rained, I had to start running. Or I couldn't get out of it. Now that is life. And you simply move from one state into another state. And the same being, I'm not another being. I answer the same name. You say Neville, I answer. I answer then to the name Neville. And yet I move from one state to another state to another state. As you move from one state, what you couldn't do in one state, you find it so easy to do in the other state. I was in a state for the longest while where I couldn't eat meat, fish, fowl, drink alcohol, smoke. Well, I did nothing. But nothing. Then overnight, my friend Abdullah told me, you're going to come back from Barbados and you will have died, you know. I said, I will die? He said, I don't mean that you're going to die and be buried in Barbados or buried at sea, but you will have died. All the things you haven't done in 7 years, you will be doing before you get back. Do you know he was true? And I couldn't tell you how it happened. I couldn't tell you how it happened. It just happened. In Barbados, I lived for 3 months in my mother's home and still lived as I did in New York City. And on my trip north, in 10 days, I was doing everything I hadn't done in 7 years. And I cannot tell you how it happened. I moved out from one state into another state, and it came to me as normal and as natural to do the things I did at sea as I did in 7 years the other things that I didn't do. So I tell you, the only states, all states of consciousness. And if you recognize that, you can forgive every being in this world, no matter what he is or what he plans to be or what he's done. Because in the end, he is going to be justified.